So I'll just maybe share a little bit what we do here. So this is slowly in our journeys, we were led to Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo, who is a Buddhist teacher, alive, present, because many a times we are studying masters and mystics who are not present in physical form. But she's right now present and she's giving contemporary teachings, Buddhist teachings, which can be made use of in our practical day-to-day lives. So as we were centering ourselves with the breath, we would have realized that how difficult it is, because the mind keeps on slipping back to our thoughts. We don't want it, but it does go back to thoughts and feelings and all the stories that we may have in the head. And that is why Buddhist teachings are, many teachings are about training the monkey mind. So if we say that I have a mind, then if I say that, okay, for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I will sit with the breath, then it must follow if there is a command to sit with the breath. But usually it doesn't follow. So we have untamed minds. And many Buddhist teachings are Lojong teachings, which are about training the monkey mind. And this particular book that we are reading and reflecting upon, it is by Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo. Again, whatever talks and discourses she gives, it is a collected transcript version of her talks and discourses, where there are 37 verses of a practice of a Bodhisattva. And a Bodhisattva, for generally for us, those of us who may not know any Buddhism, it doesn't matter. For anyone who would like to grow towards light and to be of benefit to oneself and others. And I think we all are mostly, wanting to be of benefit to ourselves and others. So we are all budding Bodhisattvas, and these are 37 practices that have been recommended, on which Jetsunma has given a modern commentary, which we in our lifestyles can relate to. And that is what verse by verse we have been taking up, reading and reflecting in these collective sessions. And right now we are on verse number 5, which we are going to begin today. So that's in short, and one can jump in, jump out anytime. Although there is a continuity, yet even when we jump in, we do get some takeaway for ourselves. So yeah, suit yourself, whoever resonates with it, and you can go ahead, maybe get the book or listen to more discourses by Jetsunma online. Many of them are available. Very practical guidance on how to have a good life. General basic, how to have a tamed mind and how to have a good life. Yeah, so that's a basic introduction I think I can give. If you want to add something, Tarun, which I may have missed.
No, I think that was just perfect. So thank you.
Okay, so then we'll go ahead, read the opening aspiration before we head to reading the verse 5. Yeah. If anyone wants to read it out aloud for us, please do so.
Yeah, I'll go. With boundless compassion and wisdom, I will work for the welfare of all. May we be free from hunger and discord and have joy and a world at peace.
Thank you. So here it is. And in the earlier verse, it was about remembering impermanence, that how even if we may be very, very close friends, very good friends, but we know that sooner or later we will part ways. So we can't attach or hook ourselves to any good relationship also. We can't stick to it because sooner or later it goes away. So remembering that impermanence and not basing ourselves not grounding ourselves on those things which are fleeting, because then we just are bound to get disappointed. So this one is moving on to valuing good company and turning away from bad company. So let's go ahead and maybe read a little bit, and then we can share our reflections. So yeah, maybe until this on second page, the few lines until this part we can read. So anyone who would like to read it out aloud, please unmute and read.
I can read it. Valuing good friends. In bad company, the three poisons go stronger: listening, reflection, and meditation decline, and loving kindness and compassion vanish. To avoid unsuitable friends is the practice of a bodhisattva. Again, we come back to the fact that we are easily influenced, and if we hang out with the wrong set of people, we start to take on their attitudes and we want to be part of the group. Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, explains that a crystal, when placed on a piece of cloth, takes on the color of that cloth, whether white, yellow, red, or black. In the same way, the friends with whom you keep company the most often, whether suitable or unsuitable, will greatly influence the direction your life and practice take. We begin to imitate and get into bad habits. We know very well that among young people, one of the reasons that so many get into drinking, drugs, and promiscuous sex and so forth is not necessarily because they are really that interested in drinking or drugs. They are part of the gang. Therefore, they get in with the wrong crowd and down they go. It is hard then to pull out. Sometimes they end up addicted or in serious trouble. So we have to be careful. The Buddha himself said that good companionship was essential on the path.
Yeah, thank you. We can maybe take a break here.
This is very beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. We can share reflections. Yes. Yeah, if anyone wants to share any thoughts, any reflections on what we just read, you're welcome to share. No, also this the first line just we read. In fact, this one, the first verse. In bad company, the three poisons grow stronger. So these three poisons are attachment, hatred, and stupidity or ignorance. So these are the three basic poisons that we talk of. And we wonder, whenever we talk of company, we think it's the company of people. And of course, they're talking of company of people. But the baddest company that we can have is the company of our own mind, because we keep on going in loop, running like a hamster in the same thought, same loop, same storyline, same emotions. And that is where our disturbance, comes the most. Some person may have said something, but what goes in my mind about that event is where my poisons grow stronger. So, although we hear mostly, I think if we see, it is talking about keeping company of good, inspiring people who are also on the path of Dharma, which is absolutely necessary. But parallelly, there is also 24/7 we have a company of our own mind, which is the baddest company that we can have. So just knowing also about that. Yeah, any more additions are welcome.
This might be maybe not that related, but it reminds me of Kabir's Doha, which we learned in school, which was Bura jo dekhan mein chala, bura na milya koi, jo man dekha apna mujhsa bura na koi. So I think in some way, I think what you said was really very profound. And I was going to ask you that, which company are we talking about? Are we talking about our own mind, or are we talking about other physical beings? Just from my experience, like so much I can it resonates with me because I was a teenager once. And I wanted to be part of the crowd. I wanted to be cool. So I was up for any challenge and I wanted to be part of the group. So those are things that, I can learn lessons from that experience, definitely. Today, I'm a little bit wiser and I'm very happy to be in my 50s. So I've learned quite a big deal, and I don't need to impress anybody or be part of the group that way. But I loved that, I think it's very important, firstly, with our own mind. What are the thoughts that we entertain, and how it can make us spiral downwards? And if the same way, if we have good thoughts, then how it can propel us forward. So I think I just loved, and this is what really resonates with me.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, just elaborating on the company aspect. So, this company, like we obviously, there's our mind's company, there's the friendship. And in addition to this, everything, anything that we are surrounded with, like say news, the things that we are indulging in, and of course, the people that we are surrounded with. In addition to that, anything that I am taking in or is around me is my company. So similar to that, the thoughts that I think are my company. They're making me to be who I am. And in the way that the basically in traditional Indian text and in even in Buddhism, the stress on company, right? Like Buddha Sharanam, there's a Sangat, this Sat Sangat. So Sat is truth, Sangat is the company. So if you have to, have any company, have company of the truth, like that is what is said. And there's this thing that Anand, who was Buddha's, disciple as well as a very good friend, once he had asked Buddha, I mean, it's said that he had asked him that company makes a lot of difference. Like, it makes a lot of difference. And he said that, no, what was the thing that company matters? And there was this, do you remember what was the exact
I
thing?
think was the crux was that he said that there is a lot of weightage, that company
Weightage.
matters a lot, and he said yes, only company matters. That's what he said. That's what I remember, but
Yeah, that
not
was the thing. It's not, it's like it doesn't just matter. It is what matters the most, is basically what the crux was. Okay, whatever you are surrounded with, you become. So, whatever we are, जैसे कहते हैं ना, भजते हैं कि whatever is surrounding us, whatever is in our beings, in our minds, we become that. If it's fear, we become fear. If it's like, I don't know, anything, kindness, we become kindness, because that lives in us, what we hold on to. So, yeah, so that company thing is really beautiful and really important, and something that we miss. We miss that this could matter so much. And I think even the first sentence there then really helps, because for me to acknowledge that I am so easily influenced also takes some level of knowing on my part, right? Some level of courage on my part, because if somebody would just tell me that, yes, you get influenced, I was like, no, I mean, am I stupid? What do you think? I have my brain, I use my mind. But to even say that, yes, I become who I see, what I see. And of course, when we are younger, it's perceived that we are more easily influenced. But even right now, there are so many things that we are not even aware of that we are doing. And when we see why I'm doing it, it's just to fit in, to just not stand out, or because it just looks, I want to give an impression that I am so and so, or I belong to a good family, or I'm an educated person. I mean, the list is never ending. So, yeah,
Yes, yes. You know, this reminds me, Mother says that we are surrounded by the things that we think of. So it's actually very scary because when you think about what all we think of, I mean, imagine that they have materialized and all of that is just jumping around you. And that is the company we keep. You know, we think that thoughts, nobody can see my thoughts, so I can think everything. But although nobody can see, yes, but it is impacting us, as you were sharing, that things are impacting me in a way that I can't even realize. There was once, you know, a story in Ramayana where Lakshman is standing on a place and he says that he's suddenly anti Rama, you know. He says very bad things to Rama, and Rama is like, oh my God, what's happening to him? And then later on, they realize that that place where he was standing, that had energies of, like, you know, rage and aversion, and that is what he was absorbing. So, you know, we actually really don't know how badly we are impacted by everything, as you were sharing, everything. The news, we may be thinking that, oh, background में ही तो चल रहा है टीवी, how does it matter? और आपका बच्चा भी वो सुन रहा है बैठ के, you know, you think ये बच्चा अपना काम कर रहा है, वो तो बैकग्राउंड में चल रहा है. But even if one word falls in his ears, and that one word is war and whatever, you know, it could be just anything. Why can't that one word be Ramayan or, you know, something else? So I think this also empowers us, because if bad company can make me down, then it means good company can also uplift me. So it's also very empowering, and that is why affirmations would work. You know, that if having bad loopy thoughts in my mind, I have led myself to a disease, then it means if I reverse the process, then I can also have the power to get myself out of this misery that I have created for myself. And for many of us, affirmations work because, yeah, that's what we create. Yeah, so again, I think it brings a lot of onus to our own self if we look at it. Mm. And what you were sharing about the admission that, yes, I do get influenced, I think that's also very important, because that is when we talk about the tamasic ego, rajasic ego, and the sattvic ego. So in tamasic ego, I don't even admit that there is anything that I need to change. Like lots of inertia, dullness, and stuck in my own grooves. जैसा हूँ मैं वैसा ठीक हूँ ना, you know, उस type से. And if you want to be with me, be my friend, you be my friend, but this is how I am. So that is tamas. We have all maybe said that at one point of our life. Second is rajasic ego, where there is an admission, inward admission, that yes, there is something lacking, but let me consume more so that I can fulfill that lack. So we consume TV, we consume social media, we consume all the cosmetics, shopping, you know, we all know what all we consume. And the third, which as we evolve, you know, we have like different variations of these. Third is sattvic ego, which although going further we have to leave behind, but it's a very quality which is much needed, where there is an admission that yes, I am lacking, but there is also a leaning towards the highest possible things that can fulfill that lack. You know, so words of the masters, truth, light, knowledge, wisdom, inspiration. So that would be sattvic, where one is now in an understanding that bhog or consumption does not fulfill me. So that would be the sattvicity, where this admission is very frank that yes, I know that I get influenced, And that is why I must have company which inspires me and uplifts me rather than which takes me down. Yeah, anything more here, anyone?
Yes, I have something to share. It's pretty long though, so please excuse me in advance. Um, 2017, when I moved here, I wasn't going to parties or anything when I was in India. So here, what happened is, uh, in the first year, every time there was someone's birthday, 30 people, 30 students or friends would come to the house. They would party, they would yell, they would drink, and all that. The first 1 year, I was the only person who closed my doors, told them to not bother me, and I tried to avoid it, because not because I felt I would go in the wrong direction, but I just could not enjoy that atmosphere. Then what happened is, in that 1 year, people were very rude to me. They didn't talk to me. They would avoid me and all that. And there was one point where I thought, okay, maybe I am wrong and they were right. And then I started going into the group. And fast forward to 2022, I would go to parties. I would enjoy. I would talk to them. I'd sing and dance and all that. But I come home. I talk to my mother. And I remember that every single time I would tell my mother that, the person that was there, it wasn't me. Um, it was someone else. And I don't know why I'm doing it. And yeah, so my mom would say, so what do you think is the solution? And I had no clue. I had literally no clue. And slowly and slowly, I could see myself, um, you know, um, starting to act like them. And that wasn't me. I thought that I could be a lotus in the mud, but I couldn't be. I became a part of the mud. So again, somehow recently through Mother's grace, I had um, someone tell me that if you don't like it, then you can avoid them. And I was scared to avoid the group of 30 people I have had all my life, since 2017. But the moment I started avoiding them, I started becoming myself again slowly. The progress is still it's still in progress, but when I was reading through that, it felt like I was reading my own story. So yeah, it really resonated with me um, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's like, what you just shared, that lotus and the mud, that I wasn't becoming the lotus, it's very reflective, because it's like, both things are true. So there comes a time in our life where we have to actually protect ourselves. Just like, and in nature, we find all these examples, since we are also part of nature. You grow a small sapling. And what do you do usually? If it's like in a marketplace, you put a fence around it. Otherwise, you are sure that people will trample over it and it will not survive. And that is how we have to foster and nurture ourselves also. That there is a phase in our life which may be a very long, maybe lifetimes long phase, where we keep ourselves protected in the right company, fenced, so that that trampling over doesn't happen. We try to, and the roots gain enough strength. The roots go further under and under, gain enough strength. The trunk grows upwards and gains enough strength that now, even if the fence is removed, you are still alive and surviving. And what more, actually you bear fruits, so the fruits fall and people partake of those fruits. But then again, all of us, as you intuitively guided yourself, or the life guided you, that okay, this is where I am myself and this is not where I am myself. And I think this is what we have to trust. This is the intuitive capacity that is given to us. And for some time we can fool ourselves, but not for a long time, thankfully. And sooner or later, when we realize that no, enough of fooling myself, now I want to be myself, my easy self. There you gain strength and grow roots and become comfortable your own company. That's why we usually are wanting to be social all the time, because we can't stand our own company. And in Buddhism also, the one of the basic thing that comes up again and again is be your bestest friend. Have such a good company, maitri, with yourself. In that maitri you have mudita, which is joy, that you are delighted, having joy in your company. And then compassion is there, karuna, the aspect of karuna is there, delight is there, and yeah, disinterestedness also is there in that maitri. That it's not like upheavals of excitement and disappointment, but it's like it's like a neutral pace, and like enjoyment, lots of enjoyment and joy. So that is, I feel that first I have to have that with my own self, and then I can translate into my other relations, that I would now not stick to people because I myself enjoy my own company. So even if I have to say wait for a friend for couple of hours, I would not be disappointed that why did the friend not turn up, because I was enjoying my company. So it's a very big step if we can all begin to enjoy our own company. Yeah.
Ma'am, another important point you just said is that I need to fence myself from people trampling, because so far all I was doing is I treated myself like they treat those animals in the circus, beating the mind and ordering it to do things instead of fencing it. So that's something I could learn. Thank you.
दूसरा ये भी है कि हमें पता नहीं होता अपने साथ करना क्या है. अच्छा, बैठ तो गए खाली, अब करें क्या? So I think again, all of us, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they say that each one of us we are born with a unique swabhava, है ना? और उसमें we have special talents, abilities, inclinations, and that is what we have to nurture and foster. All of us, for some it may be walking, nature, art, maybe doing some selfless service, anything. It could be anything. It could be just actually reading a book, as simple as that. Writing something, making calligraphy, or even just writing in your bad handwriting, doesn't matter. So things that come very naturally to us, which as children, as a child, we have done. Its mother says that you have to dig up those things, and find out your true swabhava again, because the conditioning that we all adults have gone through, it has masked that true swabhava. So we feel lost, that okay, what do I do in this big vast world? Where is my place? So she says that if you want to find your right place, this is what you do. First, whatever comes to you, you do it with the act of servitude. You selflessly offer yourself in that work if it's worth doing. And then secondly, you tell yourself that right now I don't know what is my true purpose in life, but sooner or later I will know. But the attitude that with which you do whatever comes your way, whether it's work at home, work at workplace, that attitude takes us towards that unfolding, that we find what we are truly born for, and to dig out things that we love to do effortlessly, and to spend time with that. So yes. Yeah, so any more reflections before we go forward? Okay, so let's go forward then, if not anything here. Anyone who would like to read, starting from as much as possible?
Yeah, sorry, this rejection aspect that was mentioned above, the last line which said, and to reject, to avoid unsuitable friends, or
Mm-hmm.
what rejection that Gagan was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as much as we were putting importance on to realize that, okay, this is that not good for me, ye mere hit ke liye nahi hai, and I'm just doing it because I want to be part of something. You know, that emptiness that you were talking about, that we don't know what to do with ourselves, right? So because when I don't know, and then everybody around me seem to be doing something, I feel कि okay चलो यही कर लेते हैं, maybe they look happy, then we don't even know whether they are happy, but they look happy, so okay, it's something to do. I mean, you know, it's better than not doing anything. But that's the how what we perceive. But once we know, even the rejection takes a lot of time to take place. Like, I'm not liking it, I'm not liking it, I'm not liking it, and yet everybody around me seems to be like ecstatic, right? Yes, party, music, you know, loudness, what Jagan was sharing, where it is very symbolic of our lives. But as long as there is movement, it feels something is moving, something is happening, there has to be joy. I mean, there has to be, and yet it feels empty. But I don't even want to often admit to myself that I'm finding it empty, right? Because that means if everybody else is enjoying, that means kuch mere mein hi koi kami hai, right? I am lacking something, that I'm not able to take the joy out of what everybody else can be, where everybody else can be so joyous. So even this avoiding, this lacking, because it takes courage. For this, you have to be your own best friend. Firstly, it takes time. So it's good to know that, okay, you know, it's fine, even if you're not liking it and you are not yet able to reject it or avoid it slowly. And it takes a lot of courage, like, you know, Vasu talked about Kabir, like the company, like Kabir Surma, they say, right? And Sri Aurobindo talks about the Aryan, the one who can stand and say, no, no more, right? The one who's not scared of saying no or standing their ground. So that rejection, again, we see is so important. It could take time in coming, but to not get persuaded, or, you know, like say in the harmony circle, we took the topic of emptying the cup. So often, you know, we were reading again something from Mother and Shiro Aurobindo, in which they spoke about that, yes, oftentimes people are able to empty the cup, but then the emptiness feels so barren. So they again fill it with anything they can fill it with. And that is where the issue is, right? Then the next time they would not even try to empty, because it feels okay, what to do with that emptiness. So having that certitude, having that thing that let me hold it empty so that the right can come or dawn. Yeah, just
Yeah, I think what you were sharing, you know, when earlier we shared befriending ourselves. So this emptiness that we talk of, when we come back to ourselves, we feel at a little void and emptiness. This is what I have to become friends with. This very void that seems infinite, it is abyss, you know, as if there's no end. If I look within myself and I touch this void, I see that where does it end? It doesn't end. It's like really deep, deep, deep. And this is what, when we say that we have to be friends with ourselves, actually a major part of it is to be friends with this emptiness. Because when I'm friends with the emptiness, then I'm comfortable with that emptiness. What you were sharing, you know, that just holding it and letting it be. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Nandini, please go ahead.
No, I resonated with Jagan as well in a different sense. That when I came as well to Ireland, I was raised in a very protective family, so there was no partying, there was no drinking. But I would say there was a downside to it, in the sense that when I came here, I became very judgmental of the people who used to drink. A lot of judgment. Even my friends used to drink. They used to say, and I used to be so proud. Oh, I don't drink, and ego creating that kind of um, rush from it, kind of a pleasure that I don't drink, and people who drink are less spiritual, or I wasn't really spiritual back then, but who are less moral and not very good. And I remember I got a blow to my this mental conception of what is right and what is wrong when somebody very close to me, a very loved one, started drinking. And it was a very big lesson for me. I was a lot of suffering as well, because when they started drinking, I actually knew the reasons why they started drinking. But so that experience, when I came to know that what was the reason and what made them, like when you were saying, this so much resistance to this loneliness makes you, do things like partying, alcohol, and all of these things. And that was a turning point when I really realized that okay, now I understand that people who are drinking or people who are partying, what is the reason behind it? Why is it? So that kind of wisdom helped me develop a less judgmental attitude, and also it made me realize that certain things happen in our life to actually get us on the path. We might see it that I started drinking, I joined the party with the people, but had I not joined them, I wouldn't have really found this part in me that was asleep for so long time. Like again, I always, like when Ramdas, somebody asked him, how you became, like somebody from a Jewish family, very different, no spiritual values, came to the one, and he told me, "Oh, I got awakened through psychedelics, through drugs," which in itself for me again, a big blow of how judgmental we are in our mental notions. So just going back to what Jagan said, then certain things happen for a purpose as well in our life, and to stay in that state of not knowing is also a blessing sometimes, because it reveals in itself.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Maybe we can take up 2 paragraphs here, as starting from as much as possible.
I can read. As much as possible, we try to be with people who inspire us, whose example we want to follow, since this will increase our virtues and help decrease our negative emotions. Otherwise, it is difficult. Obviously, if our family is not particularly spiritually minded, it doesn't mean we have to ignore our whole family, but it does mean that we don't have to take up their values. For example, if our family are all heavy meat eaters and we want to be vegetarian, we become vegetarian. We don't have to eat meat just because they are eating meat. When I was in Italy, I was in a large hospital and I said I was a vegetarian. They'd never heard of such a thing. Then the head chef came up to me to see me to find out what he could cook. He said, "Well, why are you a vegetarian?" Since my Italian is not good, I said the simplest thing I could say. I quoted Bernard Shaw, who was a vegetarian. "Animals are my friends, and I don't eat my friends." The chef said, "Ah, sì, certo, certo." And he cooked me delicious vegetarian food. The rest of the ward was so jealous.
Yeah, I think Vasu, you can also take up this following paragraph. It's also maybe in correction, the little one next. The
Okay.
point is,
The point is that we don't have to adopt the values of others if we think their values are wrong for us. In fact, often, if we just carry on acting from our point of view and can explain in simple language why we are doing so, people get interested. They might even follow. For example, when you are a vegetarian, people start to think about it and recognize that actually they are eating animals who want to live as much as anybody else wants to live. Slowly, maybe others in the family will become vegetarian or at least cut down on their meat eating. It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So here, this the first line, that the point is that we don't have to adopt the value of others if we think their values are wrong for us. And this is what we had been sharing earlier. Taru was sharing that it takes time for us to come to a point that we begin to reject. For a long time, we allow the suffering to happen on us. Because somehow, I think it doesn't have to be like that all the time. It's just our improper conditioning in which we learn to mask and suppress our knowing. We don't have to do that with our children. So if I am waking up that, okay, I need to reject this in 30s and 40s in my life, my child doesn't have to do the same thing and wake up at 30s and 40s and spend half of a life in this, first masking and suppression and then again realizing. So that is why the importance of awakening of us parents and caregivers, because then we can actually recognize that a child also has a knowing, innate knowing, which doesn't need to be masked and which doesn't need to take 30-40 years before it comes to front. At least have an acknowledgement that yes, I do have a knowing, and I want to reject this. So this thing, although it takes time, the first point that we were sharing, and how it takes us time and many blows and experiences that we say that enough, now I really want not to have that. It takes time, but we as adults and caregivers, we can be a point of change, because if we recognize it in our lives, then we don't have to let that suppression happen in our children who have a knowing already. Yeah, so we can just take this up from the beginning if any reflections are there.
Yeah, it might be a childish way of doing things, but a lot of times since I was a child, I had this thing that I would be answerable for me. Like, say I would imagine that, okay, I've left the body and now God is standing in front of me and he's saying, okay, did you have a good life? And the excuses that I would make, I wanted to do that, but I didn't do it because I would have really loved to be a painter, but I didn't do. So those excuses then sound very lame to me, because then it's like, the life was given to me. I had my own set of brains that I could make decisions with. There are certain things I am stubborn about. Say a child is stubborn about कि मुझे ये नहीं खाना, for example. And if they're stubborn, people have to go down. So if I'm being stubborn, the quality which I have, what am I being stubborn about? Because certain things we tell ourselves that ये तो possible ही नहीं है. Say, for example, in this meat eating thing, if the family is heavily meat eating, it sounds really difficult for one person to turn into a vegetarian, right? Difficult, yes, but it's just a matter of habit. It's just that if it becomes in and you just, it'll take maybe I don't know, maybe 14, 15 days for it to just become the new normal, that this person doesn't eat that, and it becomes, then that becomes the norm. So sometimes, again, reflecting from my own life, you imagine that, no, this is not possible for me. It's asking for too much. And you continue down that route. And so if I would imagine, okay, I'm answering me, that would be having too much to ask. It sounds really hollow when I'm answering to God that why couldn't I do this or that, or why I didn't live, why I didn't fly, like why I had to clip my own wings, because from both ends it felt sad, because somebody gave me life, right? Somebody gave me the ability to say fly, but because of my own perceptions and reasonings, I kept clipping my wings. And as much as possible, I mean, of course, there's always some veil, there is some blindedness towards certain things, but as much as one can see, as much as I can see, I think that this thing that if he asks me why you didn't do it, like, I better have a good reason. Otherwise, I would not be happy answering what I have as an answer.
This thing is very interesting with what she shares as an example, that nobody has heard of a thing as vegetarian, and then she is convinced, what you were sharing, she is convinced, and now she says, okay, I am vegetarian. Like, there is a choicelessness about it, that can't help it. So then we see that rules are broken, and even people in an area who may not know what is vegetarian, she got the vegetarian food. So it's just that if I follow my convictions, if I follow what is feeling right to me, then things can change and do change. Yeah. And then again, as you were sharing also, and earlier also we talked about this, that then the onus comes on me. कि चाहे मैंने अंडा खाया नहीं खाया, मीट खाई नहीं खाई, वो मेरा अपना पर्सनल डिसीजन था. Nobody could force me. So knowing that actually no one can force us, so वो फिर I think it saves us a lot of drainage of energy. कि शादी क्यों की? क्योंकि मम्मी पापा पीछे पड़े थे. So I think then knowing that मम्मी पापा actually में पीछे नहीं पड़े थे, even if we see that when we say that okay मम्मी पापा पीछे पड़े थे, पीछे कोई नहीं पड़ा था, मेरा अपना conviction ही नहीं था, because I didn't know what to do if not get married. So हमारा खुद का conviction ही नहीं होता, and we then blame it on other people, that they made it forcefully, pressurized me. Even for kids, actually, people can say that in-laws or anybody else pressurized me to have children. Now, if you factually see the physical aspects, nobody really pressurizes anyone. It's only that I am not convinced that if not for kids, okay, what else? Let's go ahead and do the honor. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, Snehi is sharing something. Maybe you can read it out aloud. She's sharing, I find it hard to trust my instincts and seek validation from others. Maybe that's because I feel alone in my choices and feel scared. How does one deal with this? Actually, there is a certitude, Snehi. So you don't have to deal with it at all. So if right now you're not able to take a stand for yourself, go ahead and follow everyone that you like. Wherever you want to seek approval from, go ahead. Don't take a stand for yourself. Sooner or later, there will come a time, it comes in everybody's life. That's why we say divine certitude. Because we need all these blows and experiences. We can't get convinced before that somehow that's how we are. So sooner or later, you will arrive at a point that you will say, Bhaiya, mera to ho gaya. And the example that I take is nature's call. When you have nature's call, and it could be like very too much of pressure in your tummy, like happens whenever tummy gets upset. Now, 10 people from your family are standing between you and the bathroom door. And they are saying, स्नेही यू कांट गो, स्नेही पूरी फैमिली की लाज है तेरे ऊपर, यू नहीं जा सकती, नहीं जा सकती, व्हाट वुड यू से? आप या तो वही निकाल दोगे, और या यू वुड जस्ट रेज थ्रू एंड गेट इनटू द वॉशरूम. This is actually, this is how we attend to our calls, in inner call. So then I can't say that, no, see, 10 people were standing at the door, they were trying to pressurize you, but what did you do? You followed your call. तो ऐसा भी होता है. So I think, rather than blaming it on people around, we maybe have to have enough experiences where we see that, okay, I get convinced, and then it is almost, not almost, actually like a nature's call कि भैया अब आप कुछ कर नहीं सकते इसके लिए. अब आपको ये काम करना है तो वो करना है, चाहे 10 बंदे घर में पड़े हुए हैं वो कह रहे हैं आपको नहीं, तू नहीं कर सकती, हम तेरे को बिल से निकाल देंगे, अपना नाम हटा देंगे तेरे पीछे से, भैया सब कुछ हटा दो बट मुझे करना है. That kind of a thing has to be there. Then we begin to live our life. So what, Taru had once far back shared that in Art of Living, they had shared that the moment you lose respect is the time when you begin to live. So या तो भैया respect ले लो, approval ले लो, या जी लो. अब क्या चाहिए, दोनों हाथ तो नहीं भरे होंगे कि ये भी ना छूटे और वो भी मिल जाए. ये नहीं होगा, ये हमारी चालाकी काम नहीं आएगी यहाँ पे. सो जो काम नहीं आ रहा है उसको हमें त्यागना पड़ेगा, उसको छोड़ना पड़ेगा, एंड देन वी विल हैव टू अटेंड टू अवर कॉल विद इन, वेयर वी फील राइट, वी फील एक्सपेंडेड, वी फील yes, this is what I would do even when nobody is standing with me. Now, Bhagat Singh did not wait for the whole of India to rise with him. He said, भैया मेरे को तो गलत लग रहा है, हमसे ना झेला जाएगा, और तुम फांसी पे चढ़ा दो बट हमसे नहीं झेला जाएगा. So that kind of a conviction has to develop slowly again, that it happens gradually. Yeah.
Monica, I also had a question regarding, I always feel Mother has spoken at length about this quality of suppleness and flexibility, very important for the yoga. At the same time, we also hear about, having conviction in our beliefs and values. How can we develop these both?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So Mother says that when you talk about surrender, what will you surrender to me? What is it that you can call you? Because right now, what I call me is a mass of collective suggestions. पापा ने कह दिया तो ये कर लिया, भैया ने कह दिया तो ये कर लिया, किसी ने बोला अच्छा कंट्री चेंज कर लो तो कंट्री चेंज कर ली. आई एम जस्ट अ मास ऑफ कलेक्टिव सजेशंस. सीनियर्स कह रहे थे पोस्ट डॉक वहां करनी है तो वहां कर ली, दैट्स व्हाट आई डिड. सो जस्ट शेयरिंग माय अबाउट माय ओन सेल्फ. So I am a mass of collective suggestion. Now at this point I can't talk of that suppleness that you are talking of. अभी मुझे क्या चाहिए? अभी मुझे चाहिए रिजिडिटी, अभी मुझे चाहिए सेंस ऑफ इंडिविजुअलिटी. And that is why we say that first we have to develop an individuality. Ego is the helper, ego is the bar. First, ego has to be our help. How is it our help? Okay, I know this is where I want to go and that is not where I want to go. So you develop a sense of rigidity about yourself, you develop an individuality. And then Mother says, then if once you have developed a strong individuality, a beautiful personality, then you can talk about, okay, offering this personality to the divine, surrendering or having suppleness. Suppleness comes later, because in the beginning if suppleness comes, then you are just like a mass of jelly like impressions, what everybody is saying you follow, you have no your own thought. So that's how I would connect. There may be more points, but that's how I would connect both the things.
And how would you know that now is the time to surrender?
You would know. Your life will tell you. ऐसी पिटाई होगी ना कि सीधा सरेंडर के पास पे पहुंचोगे. होता है, सबके साथ होता है. हम क्यों आए हैं? लिविंग लाइट क्यों शुरू हुआ है? हमारी पिटाई से. आस्क तरु. नो रियली, आई एम नॉट किडिंग. इतना पिटे हैं कि भैया लिविंग लाइट के अलावा कोई चारा नहीं था हमारे पास. So living light, it's not because, it's like saving somebody else's life. It is saving our own lives. That's how living light started. So slowly, when the sense of individuality develops, and slowly we become a strong individuality, situations come in our life that we are led to path of surrender. We don't have to do anything about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, when Nandini was sharing, it's like we have images about everything, right? Like we might not admit, but we do. So spirituality also has this image, right? That maybe a white cloak and just be sitting on a anywhere and meditating, maybe, right? That is peace, that is spirituality, that is dharma. Maybe that is what I am meant to do. And yet, to first create that space for me in which I can even sit and rest, I have to do a lot of cleaning. So, in our culture, say the Kurukshetra was the place of spirituality, right? That is where Gita was given, and that was in the middle of a war zone. So I think ये जो एक images हैं कि this means this, कि अगर मैं if I'm on the way, then everything I should be cordial, I should be loving, everybody should say कि वाह वाह ये महान है ना? वो होता नहीं है, but वो मुझे चाहिए. So I mean, just to see that there's something in me which sitting here also still is craving for some level of acceptance and justification कि चलो आप मुझे सपोर्ट मत करो, बट ये तो मत बोलो कि अरे ये क्या कर रहे हो, kind little bit somewhere is there. And again, what Snehi also was, just saying, there's always some greed, there's always something that I want because I comply when I'm saying I'm seeking some validation. So that validation is always towards something. This I will lose, this I will gain, and then I have to choose what is important for me. I remember, I talk from, there's a mystic called Acharya Prashant, a lot of videos on YouTube. He once spoke about brownie points. He said that it was beautiful. Okay, people say, okay, go to school, finish it in this duration, then go to this college, do it. It's like you don't resonate maybe, but you're just doing it, and then everybody's like, "Arey वाह वाह वाह, पता है ये कहाँ से पढ़े? अरे वाह वाह वाह." So those वाह वाह वाह, those approvals are brownie points that you keep accumulating, feeling very proud of yourself. And then 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, points, एक बच्चा, दूसरा बच्चा, kind of whatever. And then when you're finally somewhere, you're like, अच्छा, points तो बहुत इकट्ठे कर लिए, इसको cash कहाँ करूं? And there's nobody who's there to cash those for you, right? And then one wonders that why did I do this? Again, Jagan was saying that the last 5 years of what I was doing, I didn't really want to do. So I lived in a way I didn't want to live, thinking that I'm getting some validation, some approval. And then finally, when I say, okay, अब मेरी validations का मुझे वो तो दो, right? Give me a trophy or a medal, or now say I can do what I want to. And there's nothing. So the emptiness that one feels then is really sad, right? Because why did I do it? I don't know. There's nothing, nowhere I can cash these brownie points. There was this movie Queen. Usme this Kangana, the heroine, the queen, she's sitting and she's remembering कि कोई गुप्ता अंकल थे जो ये भी नहीं करते थे, वो भी नहीं करते थे, फिर भी कैंसर हो गया तो इससे अच्छा कर ही लेते. We always have that thing कि कुछ कुछ मिलेगा, कुछ मिलेगा, कुछ मिलेगा. But अगर समझ आ जाए कि there is nothing that you will get, now do what you want to do. So at least फिर एंड में वो तो नहीं आएगा कि कर ही लेते, because then again that repentance कि क्यों नहीं करा, because of this. So again, just looking at things for what they are, why I am doing it, forgetting कि अरे because सब कह रहे हैं. That's like, I think I am more than that now, at least कि I can just catch my lie कि नहीं कुछ और है, to get to the root of it. Maybe taking help of somebody. Sometimes when you're sitting with another person, right, it's easier to see कि अच्छा यहाँ फंसा हुआ हूँ या ये greed है. once you see it, you can let go, because कोई कुछ नहीं देगा, ना किसी ने कभी दिया है. But as you know, in this whole thing, I would lose so much of my life, which again would be good, because it would teach me something. That's never that it doesn't teach you anything, but I can be more, have more, do more, and I can choose. And not choosing is also a choice that I am making.
I think this really helps, again, reflecting on these points, because it connects. Truth is one, so it connects everywhere. Where when we read with Mother and Sri Aurobindo that either you can take a path which is wavy and lots of detours, and then you reach the goal, which is towards your utmost potential, or you take a straight path. So consciously collaborate and take a straight path. So I think somehow, as Mother says, that even for the best, the path is long and arduous, and with lots of experiences through which we keep on shaping ourselves and learning. So I think what you already said, but just to reiterate it, that sooner or later we will wake up. All of us have to. That's our destiny. Waking up to ourselves is our destiny. Nobody can take it away from us. Sooner or later, maybe in this lifetime, next, if not in next, maybe 50 lifetimes more, who knows. But as you said, that once I become available to this is a choice I'm making every moment. Every moment I'm making a choice. And when I'm saying that no, I can't stand up for myself, that is also a choice I'm making. Nobody is making it for me. So when I'm there is a wall and there is a washroom that side and I'm here with pressure, so I may complain later that, oh, तेरी वजह से मैं ICU में पड़ी हूँ. But actually that's not true. I was not convinced. I did not make that choice कि सब जाए भाड़ में for a moment and let me do the work that I'm supposed to do in this moment. So I think a conscious choice every moment. That is why human birth is special, because human beings के पास वो capacity है. नहीं तो फिर हम में और animals में क्या difference है? क्या difference है? If we are living like animals, eating, eliminating, reproducing, and that is what we are born for, and making the planet even heavier and heavier. No, this is not our destiny, and we can never be happy here in this round and round. We can never be satisfied. And that tells me that this is not the way to go. Eating, reproducing, eliminating, and doing, earning money, accumulating wealth, accumulating property. All of us have done that. All of us do that. But are we content? Do we have joy, true joy, and true inner sense of delight in our life? That's a question I have to ask every day, because each day can be my last day. और जहां पे मैं एंड करूंगी वहीं से शुरुआत होगी अगले जन्म की. So if I am dying with a lot of ichhas and trishna, that is where I start from. And if I die leave the body at such a place where I have truly assimilated experiences, and lived a deeper, richer life, inner life, then that is what I carry. So actually देखा जाए तो ये काफी गंभीर सिचुएशन है. कबीर कहते भी हैं, it's like he says that, oh my God, what are you doing? Wake up, death is lurking right round the corner. What are you doing? So for a person who has yet not embarked upon the path, he says, wake up urgently. He says, jag hase main roye. I am the one who is crying, because what are they doing? What are they spending their time in? But to a seeker on the path, parallelly, he says, धीरे धीरे रे मना, धीरे सब कुछ होए, माली सींचे 100 घड़ा, ऋतु आए फल होए. सो जहां पे एम्बार्कमेंट हो चुकी है पाथ पे, वहां पे अगर फ्रस्ट्रेशन आती है, अनोयंस आती है, व्हेन विल आई गेट बेटर एंड ऑल दैट, ही सेज भैया आराम से संभल के कर रहे हैं भाई, सब कर रहे हैं लंबा प्रोसेस है, टेक इट इजी। और जो बंदा अभी चढ़ा भी नहीं है इस पाथ पे टू कॉन्शियसली लिव अ लाइफ, उसको वो कह रहे हैं भैया बहुत अर्जेंट है, अगर अभी नहीं जगेगा तो फिर तू रोएगा, प्लीज तू रो ले और जग ले। ये जो हंसना, जो तूने हंसी मखौल किया हुआ है, व्हाट वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट आवर फेस्टिविटीज एंड ऑल दैट, वो प्लीज बंद कर दे। सो देखा जाए तो इट्स अ वेरी सीरियस सिचुएशन, if we can take note the seriousness of it and yet take it in a little bit of lightness also, knowing that there is a certitude that we will all reach there, but when will we reach, it is in a bit has been given to us which we can make use of.
Even on that note, like I feel, I read Ramakrishnan have said, somebody asked him, and it's very hard to realize the divine, and he said, no, not at all. It only takes 3 days to realize the divine. And that thing stayed with me. I said, only 3 days it takes. Of course, he spoke about that intensity of aspiration. If you that intensity, and then on a parallel note, somebody said, I want to find a divine. Very, he actually had the aspiration intensity. He said, okay, I will take you. And he took him for he to the near the river, and near the river he took him, and then he said, what we gonna do, something special? He said, yeah, something special. And then he made him dip inside for 2-3 minutes, and he was gasping, he couldn't, and he was constantly fighting, and then immediately came up here, what did you do, what did you do? He said, yeah, this is what I wanted to tell you. When you will look for the divine like this, you will find him, so that thing really intrigued me. And I was very fortunate, I came across, I think, Alok Das talk only, where he was mentioning that somebody asked the mother that Ramakrishna said it take 3 days to realize. Even Shri Aurobindo took 3 days. She said, yeah, that is for people who are little bit little bit lazy. It take 3 days. She was laughing and saying, so I mean, that thing, maybe I'm wrong, I know it is, we have said sometime, but for myself, I think, but if we know this is where I have to go, if we have truly realized that there is nothing else that in life is worth pursuing, why we have to keep tell ourselves that it's going to be slow, it's going to be slow? I mean, why don't I spend my time to fuel that aspiration, that it can, anyways we will be enlightened. That's what Shri Aurobindo says, nature is, prakriti is making us evolve. But for yoga, the process is, if you do yoga, if you attempt yoga, it is to expedite the process, any process. Like even with grief, I kept telling myself that anyway everybody comes out of grief, 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 8 months. But if you do yoga, why do we have to keep stretching it if we know the reality, if we know there is no death? It is just a garb, or if it's just changing your garments, cloth in front of your beloved, that Shri Aurobindo says. So that's what I always say, that if we know, if we truly from deepest know that this is what I want to do, it's always good to keep fueling that aspiration that we keep talking about. Like, maybe I'm wrong, sorry. But like, this is what I feel when I tell the mother that, but I don't want to spend lifetimes, doing this. Maybe there's something, and in Shri Aurobindo, there is, it's not one thing. Realizing is one. Then there is so many things. Identification is just one thing. There's so much more in integral yoga. So imagine spending wasting your lifetimes just so many lifetimes just realizing, and then so many stuff to do. Maybe I'm impatient as well, I feel, but I somehow feel that, and because it really touched me, those things doesn't leave me. It takes only 3 days to realize the divine. That is the possibility. Even mother says it. So I mean, it's on us. It's really on us. What weeds or what flowers do we nurture?
I don't know why I really want to share such long stories today, but when Snehi texted that in the chat, I had a similar question in one of the sessions, and how I pretty much asked the same question. And I was told that a child is not worried about he will do whatever he likes. He or she, it's a child. They'll do whatever they like. They don't care about opinions and all. And that night, actually after the session, I sat quiet and I was thinking to myself, okay, a child, yeah, he is not worried, but why am I worried? What is his strength that he is not worried? And my mind took me back to when I was in my fourth standard. uh, I used to live in a house where, back in the days, the house slab height was different. So ours was a little lower compared to our neighbor's house, which was about this height. So we were playing tag. We used to call it catch me if you can. And in my mind, I had this plan made up that, I'll run from their house, उनके छत से दौड़ के, उनके छत से कूद के, हमारे छत पे लैंड करके, without falling down, I'll keep on running and I'll win the game. और मैंने जंप किया और मैं गिरा अपने घुटनों पे. So I lost a piece of flesh in my leg. I cried because I was a kid back then, and but then I asked myself, so you did this without, I didn't ask my mom or my dad, right? I'm going to jump off a building, or jump off from there, उनके छत से मेरे छत पे, हमारे छत पे ऐसे कूदूंगा, ऐसे तो मैंने नहीं बोला उनसे. I was thinking, so what was my confidence back then? And my confidence was that I had my mother downstairs, and my confidence was that no matter what happens, even if it is a painful process to recover, I knew somehow I didn't have to tell myself this. Internally, I knew that she is going to take care of me. And fast forward to now, and now I'm 30 years old, and I'm afraid to take risks, and I'm looking for suggestions like every single time, and I'm not taking any risk is because I tell that I believe in the mother, but innerly I'm not being sincere. And that was my answer, at least for me, that was my answer, that why am I looking for others opinions about what the things I need to do? Why am I looking for why am I scared of taking my believing in myself? Is because I'm telling myself that I'm trusting the mother, but I don't think I have to tell myself, it just happens like that. And I'm in the I'm in the process of you know being that um, yeah, being that 8-year-old again. So yeah, I just wanted to share that after I saw Snehi ma'am's message.
स्नेही को भी मैम बना दिया जगन ने. जगन को सर बुलाना पड़ेगा.
No, I would never seen her, so I didn't know her.
Yeah.
Snehi ji.
Good one. Snehi auntie, maybe then she turns on her video and says, no, look. Yeah, but thank you for sharing that. Very, very reflective. Yeah. This has a very nice symbolism, what you were sharing. That like when a child does not know the incapacity of the body. बहुत symbolic है. I remember seeing children who, when they are little, they're like as if seeing a bird, they want to also fly. They don't know the incapacity of the material body. And actually, this is our destiny. That there has to come a point where the matter becomes so light that the moment we think of flying, we fly. So that's, yeah, although, your thread was something more profound, but I just caught that bit also, that there is a symbolism that we don't know limits as a child. As adults, we become too reasonable and, like, oh, this can be done, this cannot be done. So as you were sharing, take lesser and lesser risks and remain in our zones, and less of a life actually, less of joy, less of life, and more of rules and obligations. But again, I think there has to be a balance, because as mother says that before the psychic fully is in front, which for a child is in front, but for us not, the reason has to be the master. So because we can actually do many blunders, although knowing that even after those blunders we'll be going forward only. But yeah, in the name of false intuition, we do many blunders. Yeah, that because I wanted to follow my heart, this is what I did. So better follow your head. Yeah. Yes. But even if we go by head, actually, we will see that it's very easy to make out, okay, this is benefiting me, this is not benefiting me. What we all were discussing so far, that, okay, going to parties makes me to, whatever. I don't feel like myself. And when I'm doing this and that, there I do feel like myself. So that is also a power of reason only, which guides us. Yeah. So I'm assuming that maybe we don't take it further. We have enough takeaways for today's rumination. And on this page 35, maybe we can stop and restart again next time. So any last comments before we end? Okay, so let's, before we leave, take a last quiet moment to ourselves, sharing, dedicating the merit as we get out of a temple and we have prasad and we share it with everyone. So sharing this merit of collective reflection, reading, understanding, whatever clarity is there, sharing all that delight, contentment, joy, clarity with all the sentient beings. May we have hearts which are content and lots of joy and progress in our life. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye-bye.